US GAAP versus IFRS. Questions and answers. 1. What is the main difference between US GAAP and IFRS? US GAAP is rules-based, while IFRS is principles-based. This means that US GAAP provides detailed rules for accounting, whereas IFRS offers general guidelines and relies more on professional judgment. 2. Which organizations issue US GAAP and IFRS? US GAAP is issued by the Financial Accounting Standards Board, FASB. IFRS is issued by the International Accounting Standards Board, ISB. 3. How do US GAAP and IFRS differ in inventory valuation? US GAAP allows LIFO, last in, first out, for inventory valuation, but IFRS prohibits LIFO. Both standards allow FIFO and weighted average cost methods. 4. How are development costs treated under each standard? Under IFRS, development costs can be capitalized if certain criteria are met. Under US GAAP, development costs are usually expensed as incurred. 5. What is the difference in the treatment of revaluation of assets? IFRS allows revaluation of fixed assets, e.g., property, plant, and equipment, to fair value. US GAAP does not allow revaluation. Assets are recorded at historical cost. 6. How do the two standards treat impairment losses? Under IFRS, impairment losses can be reversed if the asset's value recovers. Under US GAAP, impairment losses cannot be reversed. 7. Is there a difference in how leases are reported? Both US GAAP and IFRS have updated lease standards, ASC 842 and IFRS 16. However, IFRS uses a single lessee model. All leases are finance leases, while US GAAP distinguishes between operating and finance leases. 8. Which framework is more widely used globally? IFRS is used in more than 140 countries around the world. US GAAP is primarily used in the United States. 9. Are the financial statements formats different under both standards? Yes. IFRS provides more flexibility in the format and structure of financial statements. US GAAP is more prescriptive about presentation. 10. Is there convergence between US GAAP and IFRS? Yes. FASB and ISB have worked on projects to converge their standards, but full convergence has not yet been achieved. 11. Are extraordinary items allowed under US GAAP and IFRS? US GAAP used to allow extraordinary items, but they are no longer allowed since 2015. IFRS never allowed extraordinary items to be shown separately. 12. How do US GAAP and IFRS treat revenue recognition? Both standards now follow a similar five-step model for revenue recognition. However, US GAAP provides more industry-specific guidance. 13. How is goodwill impairment tested under both standards? Under IFRS, goodwill is tested for impairment at the cash-generating unit level. US GAAP allows a two-step process and impairment is tested at the reporting unit level. 14. How are contingent liabilities recognized? Under IFRS, a liability is recognized if it is probable and can be reliably measured. US GAAP uses the term more likely than not, which is a higher threshold than IFRS. 15. Do US GAAP and IFRS differ in reporting discontinued operations? Yes. US GAAP has stricter criteria for classifying discontinued operations. IFRS has broader criteria, which may include a single asset or division. 16. How do the two frameworks handle financial instruments? IFRS, especially IFRS 9, focuses more on principles and expected loss models. US GAAP is more rules-based and uses the current expected credit loss (CCL) model. 17. Are biological assets treated differently? Yes. IFRS requires fair value measurement for biological assets. US GAAP generally uses historical cost and has limited guidance. 18. What is the difference in component depreciation? IFRS requires component depreciation if parts of an asset have different useful lives. US GAAP permits it, but it is not mandatory. 19. How do the two standards treat borrowing costs? IFRS requires capitalizing borrowing costs related to a qualifying asset. US GAAP also requires capitalization, but applies different rules and definitions. 20. Do both standards require a statement of comprehensive income? IFRS requires a statement of comprehensive income. US GAAP allows either a single statement or two separate statements.